My name is Seth Burney, and as always, I am joined by Brandon Lilly. How are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing fantastic, Seth. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for asking. And if you are joining us live here on Facebook or YouTube, thank you very much for doing that. We also have this presentation for you to follow along. So if you want to go ahead and open up a browser, go to m360.us/096C. If you are, again, following us live, please do feel free to utilize that presentation to go back and reflect on. If you're actually watching this after our live broadcast as well, please feel free, get that link again. We do have some great links in there that's going to take you off site, and hopefully you're going to get some great value out of it. So Brandon, today we're going to jump into this, and really what we're going to be talking about is what is marketing and advertising, right? When we're talking about small businesses, and we're talking to small business owners every single day, this question comes up. So we're going to go a little bit philosophical on here, talk about after we get the sales process done, after you have the great product, you have your service, what is marketing and advertising, and how is that going to help me get more business? I want to start us off with just a quote that everybody has heard out there, right? No sale is ever going to happen until we have a conversation. I think that that is true 100%. And on different mediums, right? I think that from an e-commerce perspective, because we're going to have some e-commerce owners here on this webinar listening, your first impression, right? The conversation that you're having with them is from your branding and your marketing. How did you get that potential person to your website, right? And if you couldn't convey the message good enough to get them to the website through that, you can't even get their sale, right? So to me, before I get your philosophical answer here, what marketing is to me is really an opportunity to educate, to demonstrate, or solve a problem for a consumer. So really, marketing is giving your company that opportunity to show a consumer that your product or service solves a pain point that they have. And that's what I'd really love to get your opinion on as we jump over this next slide.
Absolutely. So this next slide is one of my favorite quotes. I don't know who came up with it. I think I might have, because I'm the one who uses it all the time.
That works for me.
Marketing is equal parts science and alchemy, right? Now, I love that you pointed out originally that marketing is very much at its core a conversation. And that conversation doesn't necessarily have to be verbal. You don't have to be face-to-face with a client. Now, that doesn't hurt, right? You know, for most people. But when you're having this conversation, that conversation can be your brand message. It can be your logo. It can be the content on your website that describes the feature, the advantage, and the benefit, you know, of what the product is or the service that you provide. So that conversation is incredibly important. When I look at marketing from a perspective of somebody who is managing campaigns or operating different marketing channels and marketing avenues, marketing is equal parts science and alchemy, because you've got the science aspect of it, and this doesn't change. We get a lot of people that ask, you know, well, my company is X, so do you specialize in X? Or my company is Y, do you specialize in Y? Well, really at its core, marketing is the same and uses the same fundamental aspects across all channels, across all different aspects or verticals, you know, anything like that. You know, so now, there are going to be people that specialize a little bit more, and that's where the alchemy comes in. That's the gut feeling. That's background experience, things that can't be taught, things that have been learned over time, maybe even experience in the industry, things like that. So when you mix those two, you mix that science and alchemy, you use your data and structure that you know works, the minimum foundations that work on Google and Facebook and Bing and across social media channels and things like that. You boil that data down. You boil that all the way down into its core. And what you're talking about is structured fundamentals in how you structure campaigns, in how you elicit an emotional response, things like that. But then when you start to talk about the alchemy side of things, that is where a little bit of specialty or experience comes into play. That's where you're using design experience and optimizing based on how a user is responding emotionally, or how a visitor to your site responds emotionally to your message, to your brand design, to the core of your marketing, and really to who you are as a person operating a business. Now, and especially for small businesses, I've always found that the best value you get is when you put yourself and your own core into the business, right? Now, the more that you can tear away that that iron curtain, the more you can show that transparency, the more value your business has. So by intermingling this science and alchemy, you're able to get great results every time because you understand that it's not always going to be about the data. Sometimes there's mistakes that are made, or there's new things that need to be tried, or new channels that need to be explored, things like that. And that's the alchemy side. But you need both of them to have a really successful marketing campaign.
Absolutely. I think that's some great information there. And thank you very much for that, Brandon. We're going to be jumping over into our next slide. And really, before we get into the nitty gritty of marketing, right, the different types of it, I really think that marketing is your brand as well, right? Your brand is going to be a big part of your entire marketing. And I think in the past, right, you think of brand, and the definition of brand is literally searing in a mark on livestock, right? That's a brand. In the business dictionary that I found, right now they're saying unique design, sign, symbol, words, or a combination of these employed in creating an image that identifies a product and differentiates it from its competitors. Now, differentiate is the huge part of this, right? But I think in today's world, brand and branding has even evolved further, right? Today is that company identity. It's the first thing that consumers use to measure the professionalism of your business, right? Do I want to do business with this company, whether it's a product or a service? Do I feel confident in this company who's going to do X, Y, or Z for me, right? And they make these decisions before they know who your company is. An example right here, right? You have two of the biggest players in this space, Lyft and Uber. They both have their branding is very specific and to who their demographics and target audiences are, right? Uber generally plays more to the business side of things. Lyft is more of a lifestyle company, right? So I think you need to take a step back, even if you've been in business for 20, 30, 40 years, and start saying, is the first impression of my business, meaning my brand, conveying to my consumers what I want them to see and who I want to get as a consumer, right?
Now, I love that you're using Lyft and Uber as examples here because Lyft, I think, did an incredible job. They put the mustaches on the cars when they first got started. They wanted to be known. They've got the pink coloring. They're known as a bright, vibrant company. Now, Uber, on the other hand, obviously, as of late, Uber has been having some difficulties in the media. They've been having some difficulties culturally with their own leadership, things like that. But one of the things that I find fascinating is that just a few months ago, they hired on a chief brand officer specifically to focus in on their brand message. Now, nobody was complaining about Uber's marketing, right? Their marketing was never a problem. Their marketing was never anything that anybody took issue with. Their brand was impacting their marketing negatively. And the brand, honestly, is one of the more important things. The brand is who you are. It's what you reflect. It's what your business means, the service you offer, the product you provide. All of that's kind of ancillary to what the core of the brand really is. And that's incredibly important. So I love that you put a distinction in there because Lyfts, they offer the same thing, really. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they offer the same thing. They offer the opportunity to essentially crowdsource vehicular, transportation. Yeah, move around. Thank you. They offer an opportunity for people to get into the gig economy. They offer opportunity to make money on the side. They offer opportunity to get around, not even need to own a car anymore. It's the same thing. And they both have an app. There's nothing at its core differently except for the brand. And the brand is what people attach them to. The brand is what they associate when they decide whether they're going to use Lyft or Uber. They're going to go to this gas station or that gas station. They're going to buy from Amazon or they're going to go to Best Buy, anything like that. They associate the brand. Now, don't get confused. Brand is not just for very large companies. Now, when we think about brand and brand slogan like Nike or anything like that, you automatically picture a massive company, but the brand means a lot to small companies also. And I would challenge people to think that the brand is honestly more important to a small company because you don't have trust yet. You haven't built that trust. You haven't built a community. You haven't built a lifestyle around your brand or around your image or anything like that. So having a brand that exudes trust and answers my questions and is transparent and provides value to my life, I believe is more important for a small business. And that's the first thing to focus on when you're thinking about developing a marketing campaign. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself, who am I? What do I want to be? And what do I want people to say about me when I'm not in the room?
Yep. Absolutely. And if you're, concerned about, hey, I am an existing business and I don't want to change my message, right? I don't want to change my ideal demographic and I'm just worried about that. You can always create a secondary brand, right? Create an ancillary product to what you do, whether it is a product or a service, right? So there definitely are opportunities to cater to new markets by just rebranding one specific part of your business. I think that really moves us into the next slide here, Brandon. And this is kind of bringing more so of the marketing into play, right? You have your branding. Again, we talked about your sales side is figured out. You have the best product, the best customer service. Now what you need to do is get people in the door. The old adage was people buy from people they like. Nowadays, the truth is people buy from people they know and when it's convenient, right? Yes, there is loyalty in customers. And I've heard it from small business owners, restaurants and auto repair shops and chiropractors, right? We have this core demographic. They're regulars. They come in. Sure, they're loyal to you, but that doesn't mean you're getting 100% of their business. Right? So there's always market share. There's always a little bit more that you can be doing, and you need to make sure that you're relevant in where they are. One thing that a lot of people hear all the time, right? Whether it was a family member or a friend, you say, I remember you saying that, but I totally forgot. Right? Whether that was, hey, I just purchased a car, right? Or, hey, I bought a home, and you realize that your cousin sold cars or your aunt actually sold homes. It's not top of mind. So you have to think more along the lines of, how do I stay in front of these people? How do I stay relevant, but also be convenient for them when they go to make this decision? And no more, it's just the one word of mouth or referral, right? You can't say it once and think people are going to remember that for the lifetime. If someone had you on their mind enough so to get to one of your assets, whether it's your Facebook page or your website, you need to capture their information, get them into different retargeting campaigns, as well as start thinking about emails and making sure that you can at least keep your brand in front of them from different messages. And Brandon, I'd love to get kind of your opinion on just the first steps, right, of getting into marketing. I know it's a huge funnel we can go down, so let's keep it high level.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned was the fact that, people initially remember and then they forget, right? Which is a great example as to why radio, TV, print, direct mail, things like that, it doesn't have the effect that it used to. I don't know how many times I've been at a house or at my own house or anything like that, and you've always got the junk drawer, right? You get the coupon for the oil change. You're going to need an oil change eventually because you own a car, so it's going to happen at some point. Yeah. So you keep the coupon, you throw it in that drawer, and the next time you get an oil change is when it's convenient. Yeah. When you're thinking about it, when you're driving past and you're like, I've got 30 minutes. They've got there's no wait sign or something like that, but you never have the coupon on you. Or by the time you remember it's time to do this, the coupon's expired, but it stayed in your junk drawer forever and you never looked at it again. That's the exact same. That's how it works with word of mouth and referral and things like that. That's not to say that word of mouth or referral is not valuable, because it is, right? It's always valuable, but you can't build your entire business on that. So to jump into talking about how to build and develop a campaign, we've done some other webinars that dive a little bit deeper into how to structure a campaign and which channels to choose. And we'll link to those after this. But specifically, the main thing you want to think of, you've already thought of your brand, right? You know your message, you know your core, you know who you are, who you want to be, what service you want to offer. Now you have to identify, where are people going to find you? And when in the sales funnel or when in the thought process do you want to reach them? The correct answer is all through the sales process, all through the funnel. From top, I'm just researching, all the way down to the bottom, I want to buy. You need to be in all of those places. So where are those? I would say that the first place you should always start, Google. Google is a fantastic place to start with that campaign. It is intent-based search. I intend to find something, so I actively look for it, and I actively find what I'm looking for. Now, but depending on the keywords that you're using or that they are searching for, they are either researching or they're buying, right? They're just getting their information, and then they're probably going to be comparing, and then they're buying. So you want to be in all of those places. And you do that with pay-per-click advertising, with retargeting, with display, with video ads, anything like that. That's all valuable there. Now, your next play should be Facebook. Now, unless you are a business that just has no business being on the internet at all, Facebook is a place to be because everybody's on Facebook. It's got over 1 billion users. Over 400 million people access Facebook on a daily basis. Now, everybody uses it, from millennials all the way up to senior citizens. Everybody's on Facebook. You can be there too. You know, you've got to have your page, your company page, set that up, brand it for your business, and then you set up your ads. Now, Facebook is what I like to refer to as pre-intent. You're targeting based on demographic, interest, socioeconomic, and social status to reach people based on their behaviors. Now, if you're doing it right, you're adding value to their network and to their feed. And when I say doing it right, I mean, would you want to be scrolling through Facebook and see your ad pop up? Do you add value? Is this something that's actionable? Somebody can engage with you. And if it is, then that's the kind of ad that you run. If you're just running ads because you're like, well, if I get in front of 100 million people, someone will buy from me. That's not good marketing. It's a shotgun approach. And social media, specifically paid digital platforms, you want to take the laser approach. That's the best way to grow that. I can talk about this for hours. It's one of my favorite topics. But at its core, you've decided your brand, decide your channels, and decide what your ad is going to be so that you can reach people in all aspects of that sales funnel, when they're researching, when they're comparing, and when they're buying.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And that's going to move us right into this next slide, right? And we're going to be talking about investing in that marketing and advertising. Brandon, I think you set up a lot of good platforms, right? You said a couple of them that when we say invest, so I want to take a step back real quick. Sorry. When I say invest in this slide, I'm really not talking about a monetary investment, right? There's two types of investment. There's sweat equity. What can you do yourself? Right? It's the time that it takes to get out there. It's the hustle that you're doing. There are opportunities for you to invest this sweat equity into these platforms. Google My Business. Make sure that that's up. Make sure the hours are correct. The content's correct. The imagery looks professional, right? Do your due diligence there. Facebook, exact same thing. It's free. Get it out there. Get your platforms going. Hustle by getting reviews on there. Start talking face-to-face with your consumers. Ask them if they're having a great time or a good experience with your service or product. If yes, ask them to take a minute to write a review right then and there. That's the type of sweat equity I'm kind of talking about. There is an also monetary investment that we can talk about down the line as well. But when we talk about marketing and advertising, right? What are you doing to educate your audience or your customer base? And a couple good questions to ask is, am I bringing value to my customers would be the first question. And the second one that we're finding a really interesting trend on social media, especially on Pinterest, is, am I motivating or inspiring them to take action? And I'm not meaning taking action to buy your product or start with your service, but I'm saying, are you just motivating them to be a better person and get after what they're trying to accomplish, right? Or create that recipe that they've been thinking about creating. I think that there's a lot that can be said about the sweat equity investment versus the paid marketing strategies. And if you really want to start getting more customers instead of just leads, you need to start putting all those pieces together. The branding part of it is then going to lead into the marketing and the sweat equity. What can you do yourself or someone at your office to get this information out there to create value for these new potential customers and get them to come in to your business, right? Turn them from a lead into a customer. And Brandon, I know you probably have a lot of great topics to talk about in regards to both sweat and ads.
There's so much that you can do on your own. And entrepreneurs know that bootstrapping and doing it themselves is honestly one of the most powerful ways to start. But a good entrepreneur also knows when they need to bring in the experts and they need to bring in a heavyweight, you know? So I always recommend that people get started. And we actually had a question come in, and the question specifically is what we're talking about right now. It's, if I don't have a customer base, if I don't have any customers currently and I am just starting out, what do I do? Super broad question, right? There's so many different things that we could talk about. What do you want to do? So like we said, just decide what your brand is. Who's your core message? What's your core message and who's your core demographic? Now this can change over time and your brand needs to be able to adapt to that. I think Arby's is a fantastic example of this. The new CEO came in a couple of years ago and they were trying to do salads and all this kind of healthy stuff. And he is the one that kind of spearheaded and launched the campaign, Arby's, We Have the Meats. Yeah. Right. He was like, we understand what we are at our core. We are a fast food restaurant that serves meat. Yep. So get rid of, stop focusing on the salad. Stop focusing on all this stuff that is not our consumer base. People were trying to bring in a new consumer or trying to get their current consumer to change their buying habits. That wasn't what it was. People already identified for Arby's what their brand is. Mm-hmm. And all the CEO had to do was just realize that. So define your brand. People can help you define your messaging over time. They'll help you understand what kind of company you truly are. But if you're trying to generate brand new customers, then I agree with Seth. You need to set up your base platforms that you can at a limited to no cost. Set up your profiles. Set up your, develop your website. Develop the what your plan is for it, whether it's a product or a service. Make sure you've got all that back end background stuff done. Do all of that. And then you have to take the leap. Absolutely. You got to take the leap into marketing. And some of it can be sweat equity, like you said, but a big percentage of it will also be part of just a financial investment too. So you have to understand, people don't grow a business overnight with no money. That does not happen very often. And with the amount of small businesses that start up every day and the amount of small businesses that fail every year and never make it through their first year or their third or their fifth, the likelihood of a small business succeeding is grown by the amount of work that you do in the beginning. Now, once you've laid that foundation, now you need to start talking about like, what can I do to grow from there? So laying that foundation, you've got no customers yet. Now you got to go out and find them.
Absolutely.
So how do you find them? Well, find them where they're at. And you have to, and that's a question that you have to answer specifically. Where are they? Are they online? Probably most of them are. But could they be elsewhere? Could this be something where if you're involved in the local community, that can be a way to generate some awareness and to generate some business? Are you connected with the Facebook group in your home neighborhood? Mm-hmm. A lot of conversation goes on there about I need an electrician. I need someone to work on my yard. I need someone to install this or to do that. Great place to start to generate some referrals and start to generate some business that way. There's a lot that you have to do on your own as a small business owner. When you need help, that's when you start to bring in other people. That's where you can bring in Marketing 360, and we would love to work with you. Marketing360.com/start. You can actually build your own marketing campaign or your marketing plan there, utilizing all of our different products, identifying what those estimated costs would be for search, for any type of inbound or digital marketing, things like that. We also have a list of free tools there that you can engage with also. So that could be an opportunity for you as well.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much. And also, the one thing I would add to that, Brandon, is when you're a brand new company starting out, I think you said it right. You need to identify the demographics you're going after, understand your brand, but ultimately, what pain point are you solving for your consumer?
Yep.
And that's where you need to start when, I'm talking about sweat equity, creating these social posts and getting information out there. Make sure it's very, very specific. This is my brand. This is your pain. And this is my product or service that's going to solve it. Right. Mm-hmm. So think about it that way. And that leads us into our next slide, which is perfect. If you're a brand new business and you're just starting out, you need to sign up for this CRM system, right? You need to understand, who is it that are my clients, who is coming in, where are they located, what's their demographics, and then ultimately, how can I leverage all of this data that I'm collecting to then spearhead a marketing campaign. Brandon, I would love to get your input on the CRM system that we've created here at Marketing 360, which you can go sign up. It's free for life. Please just go to signup.mymarketing360.com/register. The link is right there at the bottom of this slide. But Brandon, please, let's jump into this small business CRM.
So a lot of questions that people ask, and I get this question all the time, is if I'm just starting out or I'm a small business, why do I need a CRM? Or I don't have any customers, why should I set this up now, right? What you're doing, if you're not planning on building an automation to your business and you're not utilizing the software, especially free software like this, then you are planning for failure. That's what you're doing. You're planning to fail because other businesses will grow faster because they are able to spend their time on what they are amazing at. And they don't have, they are using tools that build automation into their sales process, and they're using tools that are building automation into their customer relationship, all of it. And that automation is what gives them an edge. So if you're starting out and you don't have customers yet, this is the perfect time to set that up. Because otherwise, if you wait down the road and you've got 1,000 customers and now you're trying to identify what's the lifetime value. Now you're trying to identify how can I communicate with them? Or now you're trying to see what products and services actually sell best and what's my best ROI. You're late. Mm-hmm. You are so far behind the game. You could be twice the size that you are if you aren't using something now. Now, if you're going to sign up today, I highly recommend you do, because now you can start. Start today. Don't start tomorrow. Start this week, not next week, because it's only going to become more of a hassle and you're only going to lose more business by not using a CRM now. Now, there's a million CRMs out there. So most of them, they've got free trials, or you can utilize them up to a certain level. The Marketing 360 CRM we specifically built for small business. It's free. It's free for life. There's no upcharge, no upsell. You use the CRM. Now, if you want our marketing services on top of that, we are happy to talk to you. But feel free to use the CRM forever and never speak with us. That's Absolutely. Fine. We just want to add value here. That's why we do these webinars. Now, with the with the CRM, this is how you can identify your sales process. What happens when a sale comes in? Whether it's e-commerce or it's service or lead generation. But let's talk about service-based real quick. A lot of times what happens is somebody fills out a form online if you have a web presence. That form gets emailed to maybe you or an assistant or a salesperson or something like that. And then what? Honestly, in my experience, a lot of time, nothing happens. You never get a response back. You never get an email. You never get a phone call. Nothing happens. That's a lead that came in that got ignored. Now, you're probably sitting there and you're like, well, we would never ignore leads. Really? Because a lot of times a lead might come in over a weekend, right? Or a lead comes in while you're on a job and you're doing something, so you don't see it immediately. Worse, lead comes in and the person that you would normally assign this to has the flu. They're out sick. And now you're delayed a day. Well, guess what? This is intent-based. Just like it is with Google. I intended to get some information, so I reached out because I wanted the information and I wanted it while I'm thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've built in some automation here, then I fill out the information, I get added to your CRM, and then you've got all of my details, all of my data. It's automatically assigned to whoever you want to assign that to. You can connect this with email, automatically create lists so that the email goes out. Thank you so much for reaching out. Here's a couple of more tidbits and information about something that you had mentioned in there. You want landscaping service. Here's some landscape info. Keep me interested. Educate me a little bit so that when I do speak with you, I know what questions to ask. Mm-hmm. I'm more educated than I was previously, so now our conversation is even better. I'm not up here in the research funnel quite as much. Now I'm comparing.
Yep.
Now I want to know a little bit more about your service, and I am that much closer to actually making a decision right down there at the very end of that funnel. So using a CRM just for your sales process is just incredibly valuable. Mm-hmm. You can continue to look at this, and you can track your lifetime value from a marketing channel. Maybe you're on Facebook, Bing, and YouTube, and AdWords, and all of this, and you realize, listen, I'm just not getting the ROI from YouTube that I thought I would. It's just not coming in. All right, well, now we need to test this. We need to, see if maybe moving the budget somewhere else is more valuable. You can help identify that with the CRM. Spend more time with your customers and less time on the follow-up, and that's huge. When a customer is reaching out to you, they should be your immediate priority. Because let me tell you what, people are very used to being able to use other services that email their information to, 5, 10, 15 different suppliers. And really, the person that calls first gets the business first. Early bird gets the worm in that. So you're not using this, you're not getting business. You're losing it because you called them back an hour later. Guess what? I'm used to the internet. I moved on. I reached out to someone else. I reached out to somebody who had live chat on their website instead. I don't have to wait for a phone call. I just chatted and got it all done on my lunch break at work. Something like that. And then you increase your sales by improving inefficiencies. And I think we've discussed that quite a bit. Any type of inefficiency, any type of friction that is added to your sales process only restricts you from growing your business and adding to your customer base. There's so much value that a CRM brings. It's free. Learn how to use it. We're happy to help. This is a lot of value for a small business, even if you don't have any customers. Now's the time to set that up.
Absolutely. And that brings us into that next slide, right? And you talked a lot about it, but it's the automation and also retaining customers, right? So a CRM system can be utilized, as you said, a lot of different ways, from a sales side, a marketing campaign side. Am I getting the return on investment that I'm looking for, or is this channel better than that? All of that's great, but we can start looking at this as an ongoing retaining tool, right? Yes, these clients came in, they did business with us, and now you have an opportunity to nurture this lead and even nurture this client to continually make sure that if they have another need in the future or a pain point that your services or product offers, you're going to be that go-to, right? So bring it all the way back to that beginning. It was a referral or someone said, hey, check them out. So you got a word of mouth referral. You became a client of theirs. Now you're staying top of mind because you're going to send them out emails on their birthdays, maybe give them special offers or something to that extent, holiday discounts, or just, hey, we value you as a customer. Come in next Tuesday and get a 10% off, right? And there's a lot of statistics. We covered it in another webinar. So we hope you're going to check out some of these other webinars that we do for your value. But we've talked about the returning business making up less than 15% of all online purchases, but revenue is over 33% of all online purchases, right? So they spend on average 3 times more than a new customer. So why would you not want to make sure you have their information, you've collected it, they were either A, interested in your service, or they became a client? Why not make sure we spend pennies on the dollar and make sure they're going to come back to us further down the cycle? Right? So you can utilize email marketing automation in tandem with our Marketing 360 system and our CRM. You can also utilize SMS, text message marketing, a lot of different ways there to utilize that. But you just really have to think that there's multiple journeys, whether it is they became a client or they didn't. If they didn't become a client, now you can set up an automated journey to send out reminder emails or just good information, good topics, and good valued information that the consumer is going to really enjoy seeing, reading, and potentially turning them into a customer down the road, right? I think it's something like 97% of people who land on your website initially don't do business with you, right? They leave, they decide to do something else. So you need to make sure, incentivize them, try and capture their information. If you didn't get their email the first time, do the retargeting through that marketing campaign. Give them an incentive to capture that email, get them into the CRM system, right? And then start pounding them with different levels of marketing. You can also, and I'd love to get your words on this, Brandon, but utilizing, once you have all of this data, maybe you already have it from past CRM or just an email campaign you have. Once you have this customer data, we can extrapolate that and create a specific targeted marketing campaign for the top 1% of your ideal client list, right? Whether it's a lookalike audience, and we're going to specifically market to these people because we know they're going to drive the best return on investment. These are our ideal clients. we can leverage this data now. And then also, as I've said it about 5 times, you can maintain them as customers and get them coming back. So Brandon, I'd love to get your input on both of those topics, right? Retaining as well as utilizing the data for future marketing goals.
You know, now we're talking about all the different channels that relate to marketing, and I kind of like to look at it like a cyclone to an extent. You know, the image that you see on the weather maps and whatnot. You know, dead center, the eye of the storm, that's your CRM. And then everything that's spinning around it, that's drawing all the water in, it's drawing all the the wind and creating all of this noise and everything like that. Those are the different marketing plans. Now, for clarification, quick point of clarification, the Marketing 360 CRM is free. Anything else that we add to that, your marketing systems and marketing plans and things like that do require marketing budget, just like anything. However, the value that we have found is that you don't have to have 30 different invoices coming into your business. You don't have to have, well, this piece and that piece and this piece and that piece. I got my email, I got my SMS, I got my Facebook, I got my AdWords, I've got Bing, I've got all this kind of stuff. That one, hard to manage. 2, zero transparency. Mm-hmm. So with the Marketing 360 platform, and the CRM, we can combine all of that. So I think there's a lot of value there. Again, you can check that out, marketing360.com/start. No obligation. You can identify your whole plan, build that out, and see what some estimated costs are. We can help you beyond those estimates and actually get some real live data for you, but it's a great place to start. But I like how you were pointing out the ability to create these lists. You know, that's one of the most powerful things that you can do with customer information. And welcome to the age of Facebook, right? You know, you can take this information from previous customers that you've worked with, and we're not talking like private, detailed data that should remain private.
This is information they've given you.
This is information that has been freely given. This is name and email, right? You know, I give out my name and email to literally anything that asks, you know, which is unfortunate. But you, as a marketer, as a business owner, can use that information to identify other potential customers on Facebook before they're even aware of your service or before they're even aware of your product. This is that pre-intent marketing that we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. You know, so by being able to utilize that information, now you're able to give your advertising and marketing campaigns a boost. You know, if you have this data, you can then create new lists to find new people, and that's incredibly valuable. Now, because these people already worked with you, so the likelihood of these lists being able to generate and create more people that want to work with you is highly likely. Now, if you're starting from scratch, you don't have the opportunity to create a lookalike list or to create a list like this for Facebook or any other system to gather data on. That doesn't mean that you should just ignore this idea. This is where the CRM comes in, because you can start building a list from day one. Day one, unlike other businesses that have been running for a while, they started 5 years down the road. Well, that's 5 years of data that they missed out on, where you get to start from day one. Highly recommended. Don't miss out on the opportunity, because you're just going to regret it down the road.
Absolutely. Well, that really brings us kind of to the end here. The last slide, of course, we're going to have the presentation link. So if you are joining us live, sorry you just missed kind of that whole thing, but please rewatch this video. You can go to m360.us/096C. That will give you this entire presentation, as well as a couple additional resources. If you'd head over to our YouTube page, just go to Marketing 360. We have lots of great information. Of course, these webinars that we do every single Wednesday at 1:30 Mountain Standard Time, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully you're getting value out of what we are sharing with you. At the end of the day, Marketing 360 is here to help small businesses grow. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we can share our knowledge, share our information, and give you the tools and the resources to take your business to the next level. As Brandon said, if you aren't ready to do that on your own, or you would love additional help or resources, here at Marketing 360, we are a fully automated team. We can help you out with pretty much any digital marketing you want to look at, whether that is the CRM system, setting up an email marketing campaign, doing a social media campaign, doing your whole website, paid ads, SEO optimization.
Social is important, right?
So absolutely. You can't overlook that. But I think, ultimately we hope, again, you're getting value from this. Brandon, were there any thoughts that you wanted to sign off with? I know we came up to that slide pretty abruptly.
No, I think we've covered just about everything we can. We've done a lot of webinars diving a little bit deeper into some of these different strategies and campaign structures and things like that. But I always want to hear, I always want live feedback. So if you have questions, feel free to leave a comment either on Facebook or on YouTube, and we will answer those. We answer every single one that we get. You know, reach out to us on marketing360.com/start. You can, I love getting feedback on these. We want to make sure that we're providing value. If there's other topics you'd like us to cover, these webinars are free, and we want to make sure that we're providing as much information to you, the small business owner and the entrepreneur, that we can. So any feedback is welcomed. I love getting it. And Seth, thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. And until next time, happy marketing, guys.